You're listening to Between Pages and Friends, a book club podcast hosted by John and Kyle. That's right, we're the hosts this time. We're taking the wheel. And Con and Lauren, they'll also be here today. I'm John.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Con.
And I'm Kyle. Welcome back to our Throne of Glass book club.
Woo.
In this episode, we're continuing the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. This time, though, we only read Empire of Storms. That's just how it is. This is a book club style podcast, so there are no spoilers beyond the assigned chapters for each episode. However, since we're reading both of these books at the same time, we will be discussing both each week. Again, aside from this week, in which we only read Empire of Storms. So if you're reading them separately, we recommend finishing both books before listening to this podcast. Again, unless the one you're reading is Empire of Storms, then you're safe here, because that's all we're talking about today.
Unless we reference Tower of Dawn, in which case...
Dang it!
Additionally, this is your mild content warning, as we will be discussing themes from these books that include chained up goth girlfriends and pregnancy scares. If you're chomping at the bit to discuss these episodes with us and get connected with an amazing community of other book lovers, check out our Patreon. You can join our Discord community for $5 a month in the Snack Court tier, but if you'd also like early access to new episodes, merch discounts, a monthly book club, and BPNF After Dark...
What is that?
I don't know. She said it. That's weird.
Kyle wrote the script this week, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
If you'd like to find out what that means, you can join the book club tier for $10 a month. Our Patreon is linked in the show notes or description box below.
Lastly, if you haven't yet, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you love our podcast, tell your friends. If you hate it, tell your enemies. All that plus writing review is such a cute and demure way to support the show and help us reach more people. Here is a recent review on Apple Podcasts by Lizzie Love 17, who wrote, "I could listen to this all day. All day.
Oh, dude.
Dude.
As a first-time Throne of Glass reader, I have been loving this podcast. Every week, I get so excited to jump into another episode with John, Con, Lauren, and Kyle. They each bring something unique to the pod. John's chapter recaps are hilarious, and Con's pronunciation guides are so helpful. John and Con do such a good job of giving their reactions while not spoiling anything. Plus, as someone who also hasn't finished the series, I relate to Kyle and Lauren the most. I feel like I'm guessing theories right alongside them. Kyle's uncanny predictions keep me on my toes, and I've been on gold/green eye watch right along with Lauren, as you should be. Honestly, they all have me cracking up every week, and I just love feeling like I'm an honorary friend. Oh, that's so cute.
Aww.
I can't wait to finish the series with them and continue reading along with whatever is up next." That's so sweet. Thank you so much,
Lizzie.
Lizzie.
Thank you.
We could read your reviews like this all day.
Oh, dude.
All day.
John?
All day?
Thank you. Now it's time for the pronunciation guide. Over to you, Con.
Well, the only name that I have from this whole chapter section is Lothian Blackbeak, Manon's mama, R.I.P. And now, you little cutie patooties, it's time for the long-awaited chapter recaps. Over to you, John Ling.
Thanks, Conling. And we dive right into the pool that is Empire of Storms. And I'm afraid it is not heated, so grab a blanket or a heated towel. You might even want to keep the t-shirt on, but we'll hit the hot tub afterwards and warm up. Maybe enjoy some hot cocoa with Kahlua or a nice gin and tonic, some light jazz in the background. I don't even know what I'm saying. It doesn't even really make sense. I'm just spewing banter until I find the right moment to finally dive right in. And we're diving, getting almost as slick as Lorcan's upper body during his carnival act, which is rather impressive. As we learn from a lead who abandons her tent because she's striking out and everyone is here for the Lorcan show. That is until four Ilkin crash the carnival looking for a lead, and Lorcan, playing the role as the head carny, gets the truth about Elide Loccan. After slaying them, he confronts her about the lies. They each share some truth about who they are and their purpose, and they kind of come to an unspoken agreement of sticking it out together for now. Over to the SPCA, Manon wakes up in a room on the ship, slowly healing. Yes, thank you.
Oh, wow.
Manon wakes in a room on the ship, slowly healing. Her and Dorian have a chat. She drifts in and out of sleep while she continues to heal. Meanwhile, Elide and Lorcan arrive in another town, and the two Carney guys that witnessed Lorcan's true skills no doubt tell the guards on them and they have to flee. They steal a riverboat and head south to Eoway. The start of their journey is a little rocky. Lorcan senses what she carries and realizes the amulet that he is carrying is indeed fake. Obviously very upset about it. He also tells Elide the truth of Aelin and Selena, that they are the same person. Aelin wakes up to basically like breathing fire. Rowan helps her calm down, and then they get down. Manon awakes, and Dorian plays the role of the world's biggest tease, showing off a little bit of his magic and leaving Manon hot and bothered and a little pissed. Aelin learns that Elide is alive. Dorian convinces Aelin to let Manon get some fresh air, but not before Manon and Fenris have a go at each other, only this Fenris is actually a bloodhound in disguise. Right after that, they're immediately attacked by a swarm of Ilken. The real Fenris gets injured and poisoned. They lose several crew, but come out on top, only to have one of the Ilken give thanks for revealing what Aelin carries from their fight in Skulls Bay. Aelin heals Fenris. Fenris talks a little bit about his brother and Maeve, with Gavriel chiming in with a little bit of his own story. Manon reveals to the team some info on the creatures of Morath and also about what happened with her and her grandmother. As they are discussing the attack, the quote, "nameless is my price," makes the conversation turn to Baba Yellowlegs, who they learn was a true oracle of the witches. Aelin returns to her room to recount the things that Baba had said to her back when, that whole altercation took place. They come up on Eelway, and it is burning. Back over to our limpin' lady and the most cheerful fae you've ever met. They stop at another town to get supplies for Elide's boyfriend, Tom. If you know, you know. As Lorcan heads back to the boat with... What?
Tom?
Come on. Tom, in all caps.
Oh, time of the month?
Thank you. Yes, her boyfriend, Tom.
I've never heard that before. As someone who actually has a time of the month.
Must
you
be a guy
have a lot
thing.
to learn.
I expect your shirt to be ripped to shreds next to my bed when I wake up. Thank you.
You got it. As Lorcan heads back to the boat with supplies, his magic senses something wrong. In another part of town, Elide comes face to face with Vernon, of all people. He and his Ilken bodyguards take her outside to be put in a metal box and flown back to Morath, and she's not going to go without a fight. The mere seconds before they throw her into the box, she gets a hold of Vernon's dagger and turns it on herself, only to be stopped by Lorcan. Together, they take out 3 of the 4 Ilken, the last flying off with Vernon. As they leave town, she tells him about Manon and Cultane and shows him what she carries. And he's actually a little bit repulsed by it, but in this whole situation, we see Lorcan start to warm to Elide and her to him, and he even cuts up his shirt for Tom. Back on SS Kitty Cat and Friends, we learned that rumors have spread in Eelway that it has been Aelin burning up the kingdom, apparently for revenge for Eelway not sending aid. They finally arrive at the Stone Marshes. They prepare to head inland, and Manon keeps a strip of that red Crocan cloak in her braid and tosses the remainder out to sea.
Ooh, okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
Kyle, you cut out the words, which included the transition, so you have to.
Yeah, well, it's what it is. What it is. What a part and party.
Stop. Just say, thanks, John, for the chapter recap. Let's jump into chapter 40. Look, that
Sure
was
thing,
not hard.
In chapter 40, my first note was a quote. Lorcan was not a natural performer. No, he had the gall to actually look bored up there, bordering on outright sullen. And to me, it just kind of gave an old dog we'll start over. To me, it kind of gave just old dogs not learning new tricks vibe. Now that I read this again, I hadn't put my finger on it yet, I guess, the whole Lorcan's whole vibe. But just like how an old dog would do the same trick its whole life for a treat, but gets less and less excited each time. But I feel like maybe he's done these tricks in the past and it was super exciting for him. But now it's just, it's routine.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know how to spice it up right now. Just giving me that vibe.
Right now, though. Something's going
Right
to
now.
spice up later. I mean, he is 500, so he probably has done literally everything.
You figure
I
he's got
get it.
his habits that he leans into,
Yeah. Do you think he ever just tries to throw the knife in a different way, but he's like, oh, wait, I did that 200 years ago now that I think about it.
Probably.
I'm going to let this one fall right through my arm.
Yeah.
No,
I just need to feel something.
Oh, no. Okay, well, while he's doing all of that, Alid did not think it was boring. She actually enjoyed it a lot, as in most of the other people, men and women in the town. But the one that I appreciated the most of all of her little one-liners about him was, but what he lacked in charm, he made up for with his shirtless, oiled body. And I took one from Con and said, yeah, he did.
I'll allow it.
Ooh. Yes. We get this from another quote that just said, Molly clicked her tongue. You're lucky, she murmured as Lorcan hurled his sword in the air and people gasped. And then she said that he still looks at you the way he does. And I was like, oh, what a classic enemies to lovers, that other people notice the way he looks at her, even though she doesn't notice it yet, and they're gonna fall in love. And I just can't wait. I also want to point out that I did call them as a couple bajillion years ago because of forced proximity. So I mean, there's like literally no one else, but it still counts as me calling it, so I'm claiming it. So thank you.
I do have a pertinent question to your quote, because last time we talked about, I think it was you and John who made faces that were described in the book.
Oh,
like when someone says they made a face, you sort of copy it so you can understand
pursed his
it.
lips and bared his teeth and that kind of a thing. Sure.
What do you think clicking her tongue was?
Just going like, you're lucky, girl, like that.
Like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I will admit, I went through several variations. I was like, okay, it's probably that one.
It was like
to me, clicking your tongue is.
I read it as like almost like a tisk, like a
Oh, more forward. Yeah.
Yeah, forward and nasal. Not so much back.
I'm so sorry if you're only listening to the audio and you're one of those people who hates mouth sounds.
I would hate this episode personally, but I apologize. I was one of the people. Okay, but Lorcan noticed Alid watching him, and so he like stops his show early and everything because he's so distracted. Yeah, he is. And he goes into her little oracle tent. So I'm like, okay, first of all, let me set the moment. I'm totally invested in this whole interaction between the two of them. Alid is living her best life and seeing all the things she wants to see. And then Lorcan's coming in and I'm like fully enveloped in the scene. And then the line, he slid into the folding chair before her round table. And I was like, a folding chair? What? I don't know why.
That finally really got to you.
Yeah, that really threw me off. I mean, not that I guess that can't exist. It's just... I don't know.
I picture one of those old like plastic, like the cross plastic. It's like blue. Yeah. It's like blue and white. It's super creaky with the metal.
Yeah. And Lorcan was carrying like 10 of them to impress the girls.
Right.
Like, I gotta carry the most chairs at the youth event.
That's right.
That was Lorcan before while they were setting it up.
Yeah.
500-year-old Lorcan.
All the ladies, he could carry so many.
I don't think we had a note about this either, but the line where she says, like, did you sell your shirt too? And he's like, yeah, farmer's wife bought it.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My first highlight from this chapter section is Lorcan's POV. So Alid is like talking to him and he's totally not paying attention. And in his POV, it says, no, he'd been too busy contemplating what sounds might come from that full mouth if he slowly, gently taught her the art of the bedroom. The attack, Lorcan supposed, was Hellas's way of telling him to keep his... I feel like I can't say that in a not explicit podcast.
I mean,
am I allowed to say that?
I don't know. You're just quoting the
Up
book.
with an alternative.
I am just quoting the book. The attack, Lorcan supposed, was Hellas's way of telling him to keep his schlong in his pants, mind out of the gutter. And my note was, number 1, God's watch, and number 2, LOL, Lorcan, you ancient horn dog. I feel like this is the first time we're really getting Lorcan's POV at all, and it's like just this. It's just him like staring at Alid's mouth, and it's hysterical.
And I'm here for it.
And I'm here for it.
Can we go back to your choice of schlong there?
I was gonna say we're not gonna glide over that one.
We gave you so many good options.
I don't know.
Yeah, keep you on your toes.
I'm just surprised that that's what you went with. But given the It's like, what choices do you have? I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I know a few choices. If we want to go down the list of alternatives, we can.
Please, what would you have said?
Probably like wiener.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. I was not prepared for that.
Oh.
It's like the most PG one. I don't know why that was even funnier. Hold on. I need a tissue.
I was going to take one out of Sarah's book and just say
Oh.
something like low and creative or whatever she says.
Well, it is low. It's up to him if it's creative.
Well,
Yeah, what are all the ones that like they use?
That's for swearing. That's not for genitals.
I will say, I do kind of wish like how everyone else had a voice in their head. I wish it was just straight up the god's voice in his head saying, keep it in your pants.
yeah, is that what the audiobook sounds like?
Oh my gosh.
It's like
Oh wow.
to keep the fullness of him in his pants.
The
Something
fullness.
like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they, those are the kind of descriptors
They?
that she
Yeah.
always uses. You know?
They, you know.
They.
Or like his hardness or something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
His velvet wrapped steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
She felt his excitement.
We're just
Whatever.
feeding Lauren's fire. She's just eating it
We
up.
gotta
Metaphorically.
move on. Guys, we've been in this episode for like 10 minutes. Oh my word. Okay. This is like the first time though that we get a look at like how Lorcan's magic really works. And I feel like we get a lot of that in this episode with just as we get more of his POV and stuff. Like whenever the Ilkin landed, it said his power was gleeful, breathless in a way that he knew too well, death. And it's just interesting, like that was the first like, oh, okay, like understanding the descriptors of it. And then later in the chapters, we get like way more as he's like kind of having this share of heart to heart with a lead. And I don't know, it's just really interesting and somewhat scary. And then from the Ilkin, we get the like official, her name is not Marion, it is a lead, and her uncle is the Lord of Parenth and all the stuff. And then he's like, that he knows that she lied. Of course, that's like a big thing. And there starts all their arguments and their enemies to lover situation that they have going on, which I'm totally here for. But one of those big last sentences of a chapter moment.
I mean, like on that note, like I don't know if it's just Lorcan's pure ego to think he met this girl and she's lied to literally everyone. But this is the first time he's like, and to me? Like,
She
he
lied?
just assumes that she wouldn't have.
That's valid. Yeah. But I think it's because like he even describes it later that he wasn't ever able to smell it on her, which is why she like got by. Because it was like just enough of the truth. Like it didn't have the scent or whatever.
Yeah.
She
that they
passed
have
the lie
going on.
detector test.
Yes, she's passed the sniff test.
You're lying, aren't you? Well, chapter 41. I'm a king of transitions.
Beautiful.
I'm just laughing because it's been 30 minutes and we're just now on the second chapter.
A lot of that was us goofing off at the beginning. So
I know. It happens every time.
Yeah. And honestly, it's kind of, we didn't have as much here. So we can spend a little extra time on some chapters, surely.
Continue.
Anyway, chapter 41. My very first note of all time is I thought the backstory exchange at the end of this chapter was a bit funny. Like, I know they just discussed the importance of being more open with each other, but it seemed sort of unprompted, at least on Lorcan's side. Because, like, he came at her being like, you lied to me, tell me the truth. And she did. She gave him, like, solid paragraph of truth. And, like, his response to it was, here's also my backstory. I only asked you the question so I could tell you about myself. Sort of.
If any of the characters in this book were going to do that, though, I feel like it would be Lorcan.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Poor
I just thought it
guy's
was
had
kinda
like
funny.
500 years and no friends to tell any of this stuff to.
Aw, that's so sad.
I really loved this part of a lead going off on Lorcan when they are like kind of arguing and like going back and forth. And she says, "You keep plenty of secrets too, Lorcan. And I still haven't been able to decide if I find it insulting or amusing that you think I'm too stupid to notice, that you thought I was some fear-addled girl, too grateful for the presence of such a strong, brooding warrior to even question why you were there or what you wanted or what your stake in all this is. I gave you exactly what you wanted to see, a lost young woman in need of help, perhaps a bit skilled at lying and deceit, but ultimately not worth more than a few seconds' consideration. And you, in all your immortal arrogance, didn't think twice. Why should you when humans are so useless? Why should you even bother when you plan to abandon me the moment you got what you needed?" And I just love it because it's just like laying out everything that she's noticed about him. And it just is like, it's still my thing about how I think she has that some kind of gift of observancy or whatever, but we keep getting more info about how much she actually notices about everything and like everybody, especially in like in this chapter section when they're like going from place to place and they're like going to the tavern and she's like getting the information and all this stuff and she's doing her little acting bits and all that. It's just like, I love it.
My favorite part from this chapter was immediately after this whole rant. It says, Lurkin blinked, bracing his feet on the floor. She didn't back down an inch. He couldn't remember the last time anyone had spoken to him like that. And then Lurkin says, "I would be careful what you say to me." And I put the gif of Nick Miller from New Girl going, "Stop being so mean to me or I swear to God I'm going to fall in love with you."
That's 1,000% what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's like perfect.
I did like, as you were saying your note, John, like I'm realizing, I guess, how Lorcan is the most typical male in this series so far.
Yeah. Yes.
Like even more so than Kale, because like her description of like how she tricked Lorcan when I first read it, I was thinking like, Lorcan, you idiot. But now that I think about it, I'm like, it's really easy to get like any guy to fall in for that. Like even like, obviously I think most women could probably relate, but even as a guy to other guys, if you act like you don't know what's going on, most men are more than willing to mansplain it to you and act like they like know what's going on, and they're like, "Oh, I know more than you," sort of thing.
Oh, like John with the Tom stuff at the beginning. Got it.
I was about to say, are you mansplaining right now?
No, I just think it's funny because I didn't realize that about Lorcan yet, where that's what was going on. Like she totally played the part of like.
Did.
It's just funny to me that Lorcan is that in my head now. It just solidifies the himbo of Lorcan.
I was going to say,
so
you
much
already
more.
called him a himbo.
That was a joke. Another joke come true, I guess.
A joke come true.
Yeah, that's what he calls
the theme
his
of Kyle on
predictions.
this podcast.
A joke come true. But at the end of Alid's epic rant that she just goes off on Lorcan and she just says, that I have no lands, no money, no army to offer Aelin Galathinius, but I will find her and help her in whatever way I can, if only to keep just one girl, just one, from ever enduring what I did. I just thought that was so precious.
Yes, Alid.
And we get her thesis statement. She has what she's going to do for the rest of the book.
Yes.
And I'm totally here for it.
Love this. Love this from her. Love this for her. Love this for all of us.
Here,
And
here.
to all a good
Here, here. To all a good night. A cooked goose for everyone.
Yahoo, Dory. Different stories.
If it's chapter 42, I just could not stop laughing at this little like Manon POV, like her inner monologue while she's half conscious and trying to recover. There's like a paragraph or two where she kind of wakes up for a moment, and then at the end it says she hated death and death could go to hell too, and then it cuts off and she passes out again for like 3 days.
I love her. Well, then whenever she does finally wake up and she's told that your fussy nursemaid of a wyvern is fine, by the way. I don't know how he wound up with such a sweet thing like that for a mount, but he's content to be sprawled in the sun on the foredeck. Find somewhere safe, she told Abraxos. He had somehow found the queen, somehow known that this was the only place that she might stand a chance of surviving. And then later Dorian even says, like, he found us and we don't know like why we don't know, or like we don't know how he did that. And we were talking about that last time, like why did Abraxos bring her here. And it sounds like that's just Abraxos' little secret that he's going to hold on to. And we're just not really going to know.
He just knew where she'd be safe because he's such a good boy. He takes such good care of Manon.
Yes, I love him. And later he gets called like flower scented or something like that.
Flower sniffing wyvern.
I just love him so much. And then this is again one of those things that we had kind of said in another episode, but this is maybe like some confirmation on it, just like the thing with Abraxos. But this is all the way back to Crown of Midnight with Nehemia, where Dorian is like sadly watching Kayla and Selena dancing in the courtyard, and he's all woe is me. And Nehemia starts doing something like over his chest, and it's never really said what that is. And so this is Dorian kind of like calling back to that moment and said that he tried and failed not to contemplate if that touch she'd once given him, the word mark she sketched over his chest, and somehow ... awakened that power of his, if it had been a curse as much as a blessing. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting, like that way later we get like confirmation that happened. I mean, I feel like it was pretty obvious, but that he's realizing, you know, what really happened there and stuff. I know that like obviously the book happened and so many things happened because of Nehemia's death, and that won't be changed. But I just would be so interested if she survived and what all would epically be different in this series because of that. And like, I just like fitting in with this group of people. Like, it just feels like a completely different time and all the things, but just the information she knew that I feel like they would have skipped 100,000 steps because she already knew stuff. And instead, and like, there's just
been a trilogy.
Right. Exactly. Dang it, Nehemia. But yeah, anyways, I just thought that was really interesting. And then finally, when she said Dorian didn't feel like mentioning that he'd been the one who jumped in the water, he just acted as Manon had acted when she saved him in his tower. He owed her nothing less. And I just thought it was really cute that like as soon as she falls, that he's the one like panicking of all the warriors and all the people who've worked on boats and everything else. But he's the one that jumps in to save her. But of course he's not going to tell her because that's like her thing and his thing, and they're like whatever. But I just loved him.
So cute.
So cute.
He was at the helm too, I'm pretty sure. Like a mad dash to steer the ship once he dives overboard. One of my notes was just the whole princeling witchling interaction that they have had and still are having. So far my favorite nicknames, because it belongs to one of my most wished for couplings.
Couplings.
Now that I think about it, I don't even know if any other couple has nicknames aside from Fireheart and Buzzard.
I was about to say that one.
Yeah, I don't know of any others, but Witchling and Princeling are better. So
Kyle and I were talking about the books because I had finally finished reading, and so we were talking about it, and then he goes, but that Witchling and Princeling thing, pretty good. Just like side eyes from the couch. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
And that's about the highest praise Kyle will give anything. So he really likes that.
So if Empire of Storms doesn't get more than 4 stars, I'm going to be pissed.
Pretty good. That's my review there.
Side eye.
Pretty good. Oh yeah, my other note was just what Dorian was talking to Manon and just telling her that my life debt is paid. You are nothing to me at all. I actually just put a picture of, you sure about that? Sure about that? Because you're acting like she means a little something to you.
Yeah, she does.
I know. I can't wait. I do appreciate that she finally says out loud that the Volgar my enemy, Erewhon is my enemy. Because so far, she's still been like, I don't know, she was still like living there in Morath and like even after all the things in the last book. And I was like, they went back to Morath? Like, why did they do that? You know, because I thought that would have been their turn. So I appreciate that she has finally said it. And I know that she's on Team Aelin. I don't know what this team is called. Team Assassin? Team... what did we call it? Team Terracin?
Team Terracin. Team not Erewhon.
There we go. I like that one. So yes, I appreciated that.
I love this. I mean, I love all the moments between Dorian and Manon, but I loved this one. And I had to just comment on it when he says, I'd hate for you to waste away into nothing. It'd be a shame to lose the most beautiful woman in the world so soon into her immortal, wicked life. And I just put, lay it on her, Big D. That's my man. Let's go. All right. Let's get it started.
For me, it was the description before he said that, where it said Dorian draped an arm along the back of his chair. I was like, ooh, setting the scene for the line.
Just relax a little bit, get comfortable.
It is totally like how I said in our last episode, how he was kind of doing nothing, just like listening to other people's conversations, not sure who to look at. But as soon as someone that he wants to be involved with is there, he turns on the charm.
He gets involved.
Yeah.
I hope he does.
He's really invisible hands-on.
That's a good one.
Yeah, he is. Then he goes on to say, believe it or not, the ship has an unnatural number of attractive men and women on board. You'll fit right in. And I said, welcome to Love Island, Manon.
Welcome to the villa.
Yeah.
A new bombshell has just entered the villa.
Now, see, this is a perfect idea for another one of those shows. It's always on like a beach or something. Have them all go on a yacht. Like really force proximity. There's a thing already?
Yeah, it's called Love Boat, and they travel around on a giant cruise ship.
Of course it's called Love Boat.
I thought it was called Love on a Boat.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just called Love Boat.
You're
I think
probably
Love
right.
Boat was an older like 80s show, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the theme song for this one too.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Wow.
They could just make it an old galley like these people are actually on and give them chores like you gotta row the whole time or you're not gonna survive.
Who's scrubbing the deck today?
You got to keep watch all night long. On a date with so-and-so.
Every once in a while it's like, oh, everybody, the Ilkin are here. It's like people just attack them.
I think that's just the book we're reading, guys. I think
It's
we're
a
just
mix of
describing the book we're
Survivor
reading.
and...
But for this line, it was the setting the scene of she bared her teeth in silent snarl. Dorian offered a lazy grin in return. And then he says his things. Oh, that's what it is for me. Anyway, but she does say, find out if my 13 are alive, Princeling. Do that, and I'm yours to command. Wink, wink. Just kidding. But it is. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe.
she is.
Maybe, I don't know. Nothing's come from that so far, but I do wonder if like he will try to like find her 13, or if that becomes like a weird side quest or something, or I don't know. Felt like it was important to put out there.
I had to note this because Kale gets brought up. It's when they're talking and Manon says, and the Queen of Terrasen is your friend? And Dorian replies, there's no one else I'd want guarding my back. In an inner monologue, he says, other than Kale, but it was no use even thinking about him, missing him. And I just said, oh, buddy, like, man, you're missing your pal across the sea. And then another part is when it was describing Manon going like in and out of sleep. And it said that she kind of like in dreams or whatever, however it was worded. Often the dream was that a great cat, pale and speckled like old snow on granite, sat in the cabin with her, its long tail slashing back and forth when it noticed her glazed attention. Sometimes it was a grinning white wolf or a calm-eyed mountain lion. And I thought this was such a cool way to like, she thought it was dreams, but it was like, all of them like basically watching her. And I just thought it was like a really cool description, just like kind of a different cool perspective.
Yeah, I had to read that multiple times because I was like very confused. I was like, I thought for real it was describing her dream at first. I was like, that's the dumbest dream. And then like go back. Like, oh, I get it.
What a stupid dream, Manon.
Well, if you're gonna have a dumb dream,
why would you share that?
Exactly, though. Why would someone write it if it was dumb? So then I thought there was like some hidden message or something, and then I mean, it kind of was, but not like a future-y one.
For a second, I was like, "Is she dreaming about bast cats?" I was like, and then I got into like the sat in the cabin with her with the tail swishing and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Lysandra."
Oh.
He just got it.
Shoot.
You are on it today, Kyle.
And then chapter 43, I just had to give it to Lorcan here. It was when he followed a lead inside the tavern. I knew that was going to be taken out of context. I knew I shouldn't have worded it that way.
You gotta give him all you got.
I'm sorry.
But it's when Lorcan followed a lead inside the tavern, and it said some part of him admitted that for all his 500 years of surviving and killing and serving, he'd never quite encountered someone so unimpressed. And I thought, serves you right, you old man. Going in there with your ego, and this young lady is just like totally, she like doesn't care that you're some old grumpy
boomer.
Fey boomer. Yeah.
Fey boomer.
Fey boomer. It only takes one, and he's like, am I not cool? Have I been wrong? So
This whole time. It's just such like a bookish trope for the like super old whatever character, vampire, fae, or whatever. And then
to be into
just
young girls.
some young girl to just like not give a crap. And then they're like, what? And then they fall in love forever. So that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
As much as I thought this pairing of characters was like so random and weird at first, like on my first read, I was like, I literally don't care. Like, what is happening right now? I just like did not care about their storyline. I will say I'm enjoying their storyline a lot more this time around, probably because we're talking about it so much, but I do like the kind of balance of both of their characters in these ways, like that they just kind of balance each other out and they just make for a really funny, like little side quest storyline.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I don't think I haven't thought about it till just now, but it will be interesting to see if she has to help him get out of like the blood oath somehow, because if they're gonna get into a relationship where he does not want to be with Maeve anymore. Also, Maeve could die. I guess that'd be the easiest way for everyone to get out of it, but I don't know.
Literally the entire world. That would be great.
Yeah.
But Lorcan is like watching a lead go to like all of these taverns and like sneak information from all these people. And he's kind of like having his own thoughts about all that she's doing. And he said part of him wondered if his own queen, being Maeve, could find her useful. If Maeve would also pick up on the fact that if perhaps Anieth herself, who taught the girl to look and listen and lie, so God's watch. And then also it said perhaps it was good that a lead was mortal, lifespan too short for Maeve to bother honing her into quite possibly her most vicious sentinel. So first of all, Lorcan thinks so highly of her that he would think she could become like literally the most anything for Maeve. Like it's just
That's cute.
I feel like super impressive for a lead, but also like that he would think that. But it did make me wonder, because if a lead's going to be paired with an immortal, you would want to think that she might be immortal one day too. And so like could she be with like witch blood potentially? Like that, I guess, could maybe be on the table. I don't know. She doesn't know anything about how it worked because her mom didn't tell her anything. So I don't know that we would know, but
and
maybe.
we've gotten like some information on the settling, which is something that like I think specifically the Fae go through. I don't know what that's like for witches.
Witches, yeah.
If it's the same or if they just don't know until they stop aging or whatever.
I don't know, but I would love that for them if they're going to be happy forever and ever. That would be cool.
There has to be some sort of thing, because like we talked about with the maiden mother crone situation, there's got to be something to make that easier, that they're not always having to keep track of exact ages to know who's in charge of each group.
I always thought they just aged slower. And like that they had even said like with the stop of magic that their age like didn't slow down, like that it like went like normal. And so they were all aging faster. But it seems like the Fae are just frozen in time, even whenever they were in like Rifthold and stuff where magic was stopped.
Oh.
They didn't age still. But like the witches, when magic was stopped, they just started aging. That's what I thought.
With the maiden mother crone thing, I guess I was just assuming, I don't know why I assumed this. I guess I just assumed that each different clan kind of aged until they looked like that. Like
like all the...
Yeah, like their aging just kind of stopped whenever they got to, you know, like depending
all
on
the
what
people
clan
in the
they were
clan?
in. I don't know.
Or just the one.
So
like
heirs,
all
I guess.
People became old ladies. All of these guys got to be hot forever.
It's just a bunch of grandmas in the Yellow Legs clan.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's just kind of where my head went. I don't know.
I mean, that would sort of make sense though in that aspect of it. Like it would make sense to where, like, you know, there's a bunch of hags in folklore, and those are all the old crones, and there's a bunch of classic witches in folklore. That would be the
Black
what was it? The
Beaks.
maiden, the mother
matron.
crone, and I guess the maidens would just be like your, I don't know, Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something. I don't know. I ran out of pop culture stuff, so
That counts. This counts as it's funny. A lead in all of her like trying to find out information finds out that Aelin is on the move, perhaps south. It also says perhaps east after this, but I only highlighted the perhaps south part, and I put in the comments forced proximity. He's going with her. They're going together. And then the next thing I highlighted was he'd been too lost in contemplating what it would be like to suddenly travel on his own again, to leave her and never see her again. And I highlighted it and wrote, enemies to lovers. Ooh, he loves her. They're going to be together forever. I can't wait. But they go outside and Lorcan's magic picks up that the garrison is coming because those guys like sold him out or whatever. And so they're like rushing to the boat. And it just said he gripped her hand and tugged her forward. Even his power supporting her legs, she was too slow. Just do it, she snapped. So Lorcan hauled her over her shoulder, freeing his hatchet with the other hand, and ran for the water. I don't know why, like, while reading this like was so vividly done in my head with like grabbing her in the hatchet and then running, and it was like so cool, and I just want to like see it in a movie. I'm like super there for it. I'm not like personally attracted to Lorcan. Like Lorcan does the things and I'm just like, okay, cool. Yeah. He's hot. Like that's great for a lead. I'm so happy for her. I'm so giddy for her. I'm just like, I'm here for a lead's romance. Yes. With Lorcan, I'm okay with that for her. It's just not for me. So I just thought I'd put that out there in a general sense.
I've never really been a Lorcan girly either, but I still love this whole situation.
Yeah, it's just like he is epic when he's fighting and stuff, and him with the hatchet and him throwing it around and stuff is so cool. It just, is great for her. Love that for her.
Not into Fae boomers yourself?
No, I'm not. And then whenever they get to like the dock, and then that guy is like, "That's my boat," and a lead like, "My boat,
my boat, that's my boat, my boat."
I didn't really mean for it to come out that way at first, but sure. Anyways, Lorcan is just like straight up like, you're not coming, nothing, whatever. And the guy's kind of going back and forth. And then Ali just like pops up and is able to like convince this guy to like come with them and help them get out of town and stuff, and like make a deal with him and stuff. And so I highlighted, I feel like everything that Elite said in this whole entire conversation, just with the thoughts of John's theory of a lead having like some sort of power of persuasion or something, or like how, like Lorcan is being very literally cutthroat in the moment, but like, maybe that was bad, but still. And for her to come in and like maybe be a voice of reason in the moment, but it really was, I just felt like the way she said it, and the guy was just like immediately like, okay, yeah, I'm going with your plan, kind of a thing.
The way she said it, and also like big hulking dude with axes on your boat, intimidating. Suddenly hot girl comes out and he's like, well, maybe I could get on my boat. I don't know. Like, I could come along.
That's what happened. Oh, women don't have to speak. They just have to show their face.
I'm saying that men would take face value.
Face value.
She came out and started talking, and all he heard was, I'll go with the pretty one.
Tongue rolls out.
Face card never declines.
Never declines. That's so good.
And written after killing this guy. Speaking of the guy, he is dead.
We just made fun of him.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Get wrecked, idiot. Lorcan kills him. And to Elide just says, if you want to survive, you have to be willing to do what is necessary. And I just wrote, I do sort of root for Lorcan Elide. However, Lorcan is the biggest idiot this side of the waist. Like literally, last time we saw him, he was an advocate for truth and immediately pulls the worst, most callable, obvious lie about killing a civilian. I was like, what is going on? He's so back and forth.
Yeah, he really is just kind of a hot idiot, I think. That was kind of his character.
He killed her. He's like, did I do good?
Lorcan do good thing?
He protect.
keep you safe on boat.
Lorcan.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but for real, I feel like because he's been alone for so long, even though he's trying to, I don't know, maybe like reconcile with the lead over these lies or whatever, if he's like 500, it's probably going to take him a minute to adjust to like living or like going on this journey or whatever with someone. And he is still technically protecting her, which is what he promised, but just, not in the way that she was planning. But when a lead is like going off on him again for lying and saying how pathetic he is, I was just thinking like, I feel like she's more upset about him lying to her because she believed him and now she looks like a fool. Cause like she's been mistreated her whole life. And I feel like she just kind of expects that from people now. But like she's typically the one manipulating people and, using her cunning or whatever to make them believe what she wants them to believe. She's always the one in control. But like now she's realizing that Lorcan has some power here too. And I feel like she's more upset about that than she is about the fact that he lied and like did the thing that he's notorious for doing, which is killing people, innocent or not.
True.
Well, I feel like maybe this is an example of something that I guess I've kind of been wanting, where it's like immortality should come with certain aspects. Lorcan's much older than Rowan is, and maybe he is to the point where it's like, they're humans, who cares? Like, they don't live long anyway. I can kill this guy and it doesn't matter in the long run because he's had 500 years of everyone he's known dying, and it just doesn't matter to him in the same way that like a lead might have to sort of tell him like, no, you can't just kill people. Like, you gotta take a step back.
Lorcan, no kill.
Beauty and the Beast situation with them, to reference yet another Disney thing to relate to these books.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Well, and everyone, like you said, Connor, like everyone has treated her poorly and she's like grown to expect that, but he has not done that yet. And so maybe this is like the first time that he like, yes, like lied to her and tricked her in a way, but like he's just like everyone else, kind of a thing in that moment.
And this was more of like a direct betrayal than him just as a stranger who didn't trust her at first. So that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then like in all of their like heated back and forth, the word key kind of starts waking up a little bit and everything, and Lorcan feels the energy and ends up going and figuring out he doesn't have a word key and all this stuff. But like in all his frustrations, Lorcan tells a lead about like the Selena and Aelin and that they're the same person, and then that Selena lived her best life with all the money and killing people, and that he's no better than her and like whatever. And super rude way of going about it. But he's not wrong. And all the things that he said, that was the life that she lived. So there is that. But I loved her response to it, where it was just, so call Aelin a murderer and a thief and a liar, call her a bitch queen and a fire breather. But forgive me if I take it upon myself to be the judge of those things when I meet her, which I will do. And I was like, yes, girl, you
go
tell
off,
him.
girl.
Make your own opinions.
The last thing I had for this chapter was the little note that Aelin left for Lorcan that said, here's hoping you discover more creative terms than bitch to call me when you find this. And I just wrote, first of all, don't hold your breath, Aelin. If you want creativity, you're writing to the wrong guy. He's not good. He's not that mindset.
You need to find Sartak on the southern continent.
Yeah. Let me give you some references.
He can help you out.
And I just also wrote, second of all, calm down. You have too many names as is. You can't just go asking for more.
That's valid.
Leave some for the rest of us.
Yeah, you can keep bitch, but give us something else.
You can have that one. That's yours now. And speaking of Aelin, moving into chapter 44, when she woke up, I'm just saying, when she's burning up, rather than protecting everything with a wall of air, I don't know why Rowan wouldn't just take the air away. He's done it for other fires.
And it's not like
he can't. Yeah, he could give the air back after. Fire can't burn without air. I'm just saying. Like, simple.
Kyle and I had like a long debate about this whenever he brought this up at home. But it wasn't just like she wasn't just producing fire. Like, she was like, for some reason in her dream, took herself to almost full like burnout mode or whatever it is, like where she's like used all her magic and she like lost control. And so it wasn't just the simple act of, I think, taking away her fire, and then that specific fire was out. It was whatever was going on inside of her that was producing it that he needed to calm down, not necessarily the fire itself that came out.
Couldn't just
But
cut off
also-
her oxygen.
I was going to say, knocking her out still solves the issue.
I don't know. Because Kyle did say that, like, with taking the air away. And I was like, wouldn't that just kill her if you just take all her air away? But
No, not.
Take
I mean,
my
like
breath away.
for a certain amount of time, sure. But I'm sure he could monitor. Just like knock you out, give it back, still on fire, taking it away again. You have to behave to breathe.
no, because he kind of like freaks out too and almost like loses. Well, he
Yeah.
does like lose control. He has his own.
He goes full Abraxos.
What?
Little fussy nursemaid.
Oh, that's so cute. But in all of her like freak out, Rowan says to her, I see you. I see every part of you, and I'm not afraid. And that made her think, my name is Aelin Ashriver Galathinius, and I will not be afraid. And that just gets me every freaking time. She could say that literally every other chapter, and I'd still almost tear up. It's so good. Gets me every time.
I love that too.
But with like Rowan going full of Braxos, it's so funny. She says, I am fine, enunciating each word. You saw to that. Now go get me some water. I'm thirsty. A basic, easy command to serve in the way he explained that Fae males liked to be needed, to fulfill some part of them that wanted to fuss and dote. And I was like, how convenient that the old hot Fae males feel the need within their core being to fuss and dote on the little human. How lovely for her.
We had talked about this too at home because I was pretty sure, and I'm not sure if we, like Lauren and I, came to a final call on it, but they did say that Fae females are usually in charge, right? Like the males are usually give way to their authority. I thought that was mentioned at some point in the books, but maybe I'm incorrect.
I feel like it makes sense with Maeve.
I don't
and the
remember.
Cadre, at least.
Yeah, maybe that's just what I was thinking of Maeve.
Yeah.
But I was asking her, like, do you think it's the same with Fae females, that if that is true, that they sort of have that natural, like, oh, then if they're mated with a Fae female, they also are like, I need to cover the small things for you, get you the water, do the little tasks that you need? Or is it just like in this instance because of their connection that he's like specifically?
I don't know. I feel like I might have missed that.
But also they're not mated.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just there. That's why I said their
we
connection
are
between the
told.
two.
So, I don't know that I'm convinced on that, but sure.
Coincidence?
They've not.
I think not.
They've not technically mated. They had a mating scare, which we'll get to.
And then we get from Manon official, like, at least I think it's official because I don't know what else there is about this, about what the yielding is. And she said, it is a bit of magic we have. We usually cannot summon or wield, but for one moment in a witch's life, she can summon great power to unleash upon her enemies. The cost is that she is incinerated with the blast, her body yielded to the darkness. In the witch wars, witches on both sides made the yielding during every battle and skirmish. And I was really afraid that this is some sort of foreshadowing
100%.
to that. Yep. And Kyle confirmed it. So now it is for sure happening in the book.
I mean, you've got like 13 chances that it is. So.
13 Oh my God, what if it all
13
happens at like
reasons.
one time or something? They all like,
Oh my God, you guys.
A chain yielding? I've never seen the likes before.
A chain.
oh, this makes me sad. That would be kind of epic, but it does make me sad.
The worst part about this is that this all is really sad, but I also can't stop picturing the yielding as like a bee sting.
What?
What?
Where,
A
like,
bee sting?
you know how bees, like some bees can only sting, like they can only use their stinger one time and then they just die.
Oh. I
Okay.
thought you meant as painful as that.
Yeah,
I was like, no,
I-
it sounds a lot worse.
It's when the rare
man,
magic of
ow,
a bee stings a witch and
The witch explodes and her enemy's like, oh gosh, jeez. Is that bleeding? No, it stings though.
and then there's that one guy that's allergic and it just donezo for him.
I'm allergic to witches yielding. How do you find that out?
Oh my gosh. That's so
Do you have any Benadryl?
It makes me wonder if that's something they have to teach witches too. Like, if they have to say, this specific feeling, you don't want to give into that. Like, this is what it feels like when you're about to explode. You're going to want to stop doing whatever you're doing. Hopefully there's a ritual involved or something. I feel like that's a very bad thing to just be able to do at any time for
Sounds like
a
they kinda
young witch who
are.
doesn't know what she's doing.
Self-destruct button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems kind of interesting because it's like, even from all the time that we've seen Manon and the witches, like, we've not gotten any hint of that. And they obviously don't use magic like Dorian does or something. Like, they don't use it, but
They don't have elements or whatever she said.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
she even mentioned something like that too. But it's interesting because she said, like, in the past wars, he was asking, like, oh, have people done that before? And she was just like, oh, yeah, all the time. We all did on all sides. I was like, oh, so it's like, it was a fairly common thing then.
But in a way, it kind of makes sense with the idea that they are from Fog. And so we see like the Ilkin and like all these creepy whatever things that were made for this, and obviously they're iron teeth witches. So they have those aspects of them too. But I feel like I'm at the same time not surprised that is a way they would be used as a weapon on a battlefield type of a thing to take out large groups of people. But
I kind of wonder how large it is because she says that they're incinerated in the blast.
Right.
Is it like a grenade? Is it like a large? Is it atomic? Like what?
Is it like a cannonball? Like what are we thinking?
Yeah.
I
Like,
need
do
to
you
know about
just-
the wagon. Kyle needs to know about the size, the diameter.
I'm concerned
of
about the radius of their explosion. Lauren's really messed up by these folding chairs.
Priorities.
Yeah. But in that same conversation, we get a lot of teasing from Dorian where
Yeah, we
he's
do.
just like phantom hands and like kissing her and like really just promising her that like this is happening right now sort of thing.
John's twirling his hair.
And then he's just like, nah, I'll see you later.
I
And I
know.
was like, Dorian, my guy, what a game he's
Yeah.
playing.
Uh-huh.
I put that little image of the guy fishing, like, I got you some spot. Oop, gotta be quicker than that.
I mean, it's working for me. I'm a fan. So.
Just eating it up over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of which, I did have a couple of highlights from that section.
Yes, you did. Tell me, Con.
Where Dorian is totally teasing Manon, and Manon says, if you plan to sneak in here in the darkest hours of the night, you should at least have the decency to ensure I get something out of it. But my note just said, I can't. Okay, first of all, I can't with this typo, John, in this next
Whistling.
I put these in for her, by the way. And I only put in the 2.
Was there a lot?
There are more.
Well,
Oh,
More,
gotcha.
think,
I told
but-
him if I had something highlighted, but I didn't actually write a note, that he could just leave it out because I didn't have
Sure.
anything to say. But
Yeah, she
Anyway.
probably had 6 more lines just highlighted. in the
Oh, I
notes.
probably had the whole chapter, like the
Yeah,
whole
probably for
all
her
of
own
it.
purposes.
Mhm. I did highlight this part where Dorian says, I don't think you can handle the sort of things I need, witchling. And I wrote therapy, a good cry, maybe a nice fluffy teddy bear to cuddle at night, a turtleneck perhaps.
Oh no! Oh man!
Kind of ruined the moment myself on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Poor guy just needs some sun.
Mhm. But for me, I've never been like a huge Dorian fan. I think in Throne of Glass, when like Dorian was the love interest, I was just so skeptical to like the first love interest because I had been fooled by Sarah before in that way. and so I like just never like let myself get attached to Dorian. But we're here now all the way in Empire of Storms. And it says, she began to unbutton her shirt while she'd been wearing for God's knew how long, but he growled, I'll do it myself. Like hell he would. She touched the second button. Invisible hands wrapped around her wrists tightly enough that she dropped the shirt. Dorian prowled to her. I said, I'd do it. I was like, okay,
Dorian, have you?
There's like this list of guys for the series, and he just went boom, 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 all the way up the list. Like, okay, Dorian, I'm here for it. Calm down. But in all the quotes and all the things that we have said today, it wasn't even always what he said, but it was like how it said he said it, if that makes sense. It was all the he crooned, or even just like he shrugged, his lazy grin, the proud, oh my God, and the invisible hands. Take it all day long.
We had a whole text conversation about this earlier.
Yes, we did.
But Dorian's like probably my favorite male character from this series. But I was like, I said that, and I said even though he probably gets the least amount of like on page time, and then I was like, I guess that makes sense for me because Azriel is also my favorite.
That's true. He's just always been too pretty boy kind of for me, but now he's getting like a little edge going on, so
which is also my type.
They're out to sea. He's probably got a little stubble going.
I know.
You know, he's looking a little rough around the edges, but not too rough, not too sea stricken. He doesn't look like a pirate.
Yet.
Yeah, yet. And I just added a note in here, like toward the end of that section where it says Manon almost bellowed as he slipped out the door and did not return. And I was just like, Big D is playing the game.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
He sure does.
He like pins her down and like, what was he, like brushes his lips across hers or something. And then he just like bolts. He's out.
See ya.
Doesn't come back.
Maybe another time.
Maybe another time. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see.
Which takes us right into chapter 45, where I could not stop laughing at the part that said, the witch was lucid, but pissed off.
Adian comes in to check on her after that.
Yeah.
It was Adian's POV, just made it even funnier. It's like the whole ship knows that she's got a lot of angst.
I think it's funny too, because like, obviously he's into her in one form or another. But when she started like offering this sort of when she started offering like a night with Dorian to him, she had like thoughts in her head that were like, whatever, I'm nobody anymore, like let's just do it sort of thing. Like I kind of wonder if he did that because he wanted her to like want it as well, not just to be like, oh, it's just something to pass the time.
Well, and he even said she thought that he must have seen something in my eyes, and then he like left. So it's like he recognized that she was just kind of not really there for him, I guess, more just to pass time or whatever kind of a thing. If
it happened right then, it would be a little too easy. But
it's true.
Would I have been mad about it? No.
But I get it, I guess. It's okay. Yeah. I think I was a lot more frustrated by that stuff with Rowan and Aelin in Heir of Fire because there was literally nothing else. That was the only thing that was happening. So I'm like huge fan of it right here, but I'm also like literally just left Aelin and Rowan in the other room. So it's fine. Yeah. But again, from Adian's POV, it said he tried not to note the lingering scent of female arousal in the cabin, or that Dorian's scent was entwined among it. Yeah, and just like how awkward that like everyone can just smell that on the room or on her or whatever it is. It's just so then like and Dorian's just up there like proud of himself. He's just sitting on the deck like, yep, that's right. I got that one.
He's telling everybody like, yeah, I'm probably going to sleep with Manon.
No, and they're all like freaked out, and he's just like so proud of himself.
He's like, just let it happen, guys.
Just debating if I want the chains on or off. So
pretty much, that's exactly what's happening.
And to that, I guess, the exchange between Aelin and Dorian, where he's convincing her to let her go. Aelin says she has her own reasons. I highly doubt it was because she, in her 100 years of killing, decided your pretty face would turn her good. And Dorian responds with, yours turned Rowan from 3 centuries of a blood oath. And the next thing is Gavriel, after seeing Rowan's, gets sort of tense energy, angry energy, says, I suggest, Majesty, that you pick another argument. And I just wrote, why? Because he's right? Like, that is what happened. So why could it not happen with someone else? Do the people in these stories, are they incapable of handling being slightly wrong, or not even wrong, but just accurately called out without throwing a hissy killing fey fit over it? Like, that is exactly what their relationship is. Dorian told no lie.
Those fey alpha holes.
Yeah, I think it was his like fey male territorial whatever happened since he and Aelin sealed the deal, that he was like kind of coming at Aelin and that, like, with whatever sass he said that. And
Was
that
he,
like
though?
pissed off Rowan.
Because that's a
That's how I
compliment.
took it.
Your pretty face pulled a fey that was sworn to someone else.
You think I'm pretty?
That's all she heard. You think I'm pretty?
Honestly, Aelin used to be like that. She used to be like, yeah, I did. She used to be that person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like that whole thing. I was like, really, Rowan? Like, that is the truth. You cannot be upset about that.
I had a note in here about, which I had totally forgotten about, but it's when Aelin finds out that Elide is alive, and kind of the detail surrounding that she left her in Oakwald Forest or whatever to head up to Terrazin, and Aelin slaps her. And I was like, oh, but then I was like reading my comment just a few minutes ago, and I thought, well, now that I'm thinking about it, this is probably nothing compared to some of the punishment that she has received. It's like, it's crazy coming from Aelin, because it's Aelin, and it's not like her grandmother, like giving her a couple slices across the cheek or something like that. But yeah, I just thought that was crazy because I didn't remember that little tidbit happening.
Aelin is kind of notorious for punching people in the face, though. So a little backhanded slap
that's
is.
a good point.
Yeah.
Manon might appreciate that. Like that, I feel like that's the way the witches would have dealt with things too. Like,
yeah, that's a good point as well.
You pissed me off. I'm just going to punch you in the face. And Manon would be like, yeah, that sounds right. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Let's
Move on. Yeah.
Which it says, like, in that same scene, or maybe a little bit after it, that Aelin either tells someone or thinks to herself, like, well, she's lucky I just didn't use my fire to incinerate her or something. Like, I calmed myself down enough. And I was like, I guess that's good, Aelin. Like, pat on the back for not instantly killing someone you don't like again. Like, good job.
But on the way to Manon's room, Aelin is recalling it. No, I think it's on the way back, because it's like her hand was hurt and she's remembering how Rowan had like healed her hand or whatever. And how after that, she said thank you in a very specific way. Thank you. He like picks up that she's thinking about that, and then they have this whole like back and forth, and we haven't seen the italics conversations, and I just feel like I'm going crazy with the italics because they're just all over the place, and they're clearly having full-on conversations, but no one says that they can talk mind to mind, but like everyone's aware that they're doing it, and I'm just really mad that no one has said Aelin and Rowan can talk mind to mind. That's all I need. And I would be completely content.
It's been a while since you've
they've done it.
Since you've had to deal with it, yeah.
I mean,
not since they've done it, though. Yeah.
Not since they've done it, but since they've like talked mind to mind.
Like an hour ago. The whole ship can smell it.
Well, that's what the italics conversation's about. So.
Yeah.
True.
It's got, I think, body language too, but these conversations are very specific. So, like, they've got some sort of secret, I don't know, FASL that they're doing or something. At the end of this little chappy, I just wrote, I was right, the Bloodhound found them and did replicate someone they knew.
Yep.
That's
When I
very
read that, I
true.
was like, oh, nice.
Yep.
I did
And
it.
that was 2 episodes ago because I had totally forgotten that you said that until I was
Yeah.
editing episode 19. And then I was like,
Was
oh,
that 2 episodes ago?
yeah.
Dang.
Yep.
Mhm.
I could have sworn that was the last one.
Crazy.
It's such a blur
It
at this
is.
point.
It really is.
I don't even remember half the things I say, but I know I said that one. And then chapter 46, whenever it like rolls its eyes in the back of its head or something and radios Morath.
Oh, the Bloodhound. I was
Oh, yeah,
confused.
the Bloodhound.
Okay.
I was just saying, if it can communicate to Morath or wherever Erewhon sits to rest, it does make me wonder if Lauren's theory about the darkness in Kale can't do the same somehow. Like how you said, like, oh, can they... Is it a two-way communication thing, even though they're memories? But I was like, well, if this thing can just glaze over and be like, I just sent your position, your names, what you're doing, what you're wearing.
Just dropped a
Why
pin in the
not?
iMessage.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in the group chat.
I did also note something about this too, because it's almost like they have like some kind of direct line to Erewhon somehow, or he can like see through their eyes kind of thing if he wanted to, because it makes me wonder like why it was yelling out Shifter. It was almost like it was trying to call attention to Erewhon so he could like quickly like see through his eyes or something. That's what it made me think of anyway.
I thought it hinted at bloodhounds being made from shifters.
That's what my next note is about.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you go with your next note. And then
That's my next note, actually, where it said Shifter it hissed again. That longing twisted its features, and Aelin had a feeling she knew what this thing had begun as.
Oh, okay.
What Erewhon had trapped and mutilated in the mountains around Morath.
Gotcha,
Almost like it
gotcha.
wished to just be and shift into whatever it wanted to again, but it was, or not have whatever weird stuff it was stuck with. But my note about that was just that I thought shifters were like super rare. And I think in my note I wrote like, but there's Ilkin, but this isn't Ilkin. This is the Bloodhound.
Yeah.
So maybe there is only a couple of
Specifically,
them.
Oh, yeah.
Like a higher tier monster sort of thing is how I pictured it. Like there's bloodhounds and then there's Ilkin, which are like the lesser foot soldier types, I guess.
But this is this the same one that chased Manon?
I think so.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think so because of what it said to Manon.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
then we've only seen one.
Yeah.
And do we know that this
that's
one
interesting.
generally like presents as a girl, like how Lysandra does?
It said it had like shriveled up breasts when it like changed back into its normal form. Because there was a moment where I don't remember whose POV it was. I guess Aelin's, where it was like, oh, she like, oh, it's a girl dragon.
I was just thinking about how Falcon from Tower of Dawn has family that are shifters, but he only mentioned his dad and his brother. So maybe I'm just thinking like if it's rare, then there's, we only know of so many. Maybe they're all related. Maybe this is Lysandra's cousin.
Because everybody's cousins.
Do you think just like any shifter they see, they're going to ask Lysandra, is that your cousin? Yep. That's your cousin?
My mom.
know each other?
You know them?
My boy.
End scene of Men in Black. Oh, was that your auntie? Oh, stomping all the cockroaches. Oh, I'm sorry.
Gross. I hate that.
Oh yeah, that's her least favorite voice that I do around the house is that
creepy
alien.
cockroach,
Oh, the cockroach
aliens
guy?
Ugh. And he'll like walk around the house like that. I hate it.
Oh man.
Did you guys know that actor also is the actor that plays Kingpin and all like the new Marvel stuff?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Nice.
Nope. But I don't know who any actors are ever.
Yep,
Sweet.
that's so true.
I couldn't tell you the guy's name. I just know that he's in there. Anyway, the Bloodhound. I keep saying the Ilkin in all my notes, but I'm fairly certain it's the Bloodhound talking that was telling Manon about how the 13 were dead and what Erewhon did to them, and saying stuff about what Astrid specifically had said and like knew of the scar that was like branded on her stomach or whatever and all of that, which obviously could have gotten all of that information from the grandmother. Also because they knew that she was the Croakan queen. So like they had to be getting information from someone. They didn't just randomly see that. So I'm hoping, what I'm trying to say here is I'm really hoping that it's lying. Because like later with Vernon, he's lying about information about Manon being dead and like that kind of stuff. So I mean, I don't know. Hopefully
like
it's they're okay. Ugh.
The matron might have just been like freely handing that information over to Erewhon, honestly. Like,
At that
here's
point, yeah.
all my
Yeah.
girls and all their info and
Mm.
whatever you want to use them for, sort of thing.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's true. The Bloodhound does reveal that Manon is the last Croakan queen, the living one. And so that's like a big info drop to everyone that everyone now knows. When Manon is like getting this information though from the Bloodhound, and then like Dorian and the way he like comes in and like kills it and is just like insanely disgusting and epic at the same time. And I'm just Dorian. Ooh, I'm here for it. But we just get like this little one line too of how there was like 2 wyverns in the sky, or that Lysandra had turned into a wyvern and is like matching up Raxos. And I was like, that was so freaking amazing. And I love it. And I hope we get more of that.
Yeah.
And then obviously just like the major fact that everyone knows that they have the 3rd word key, the one that he never knew where it was. And so now it's for sure they have it. So there's just like a lot of random one-line information that's very important, I feel like, for the long-term plot of this book. Nothing really comes from any of this in this chapter chunk, but assumedly a lot of that will play into things later. But we jump into chapter 47, where apparently I'm the only one who found anything important to say. So buckle in, because again, I have a lot of things to say by myself. The very first line of the chapter is just that Rowan, at the very end of the last one, had turned into a hawk and he was going to check with the other boats, and it just had Rowan hauled ass back to the ship. His magic near flinging him through the air. That just made me laugh at the image of the poor little hawk. Just like being thrown across the ocean. Anyway, that made me laugh. Then Rowan lands and the last Ilkin is like getting away. Lysandra's like, is anyone going to deal with that kind of a thing? And then like the whole group just kind of like, Fenris is almost dead. Everyone's like barely survived. There's literally dead bodies around them. And they just have this cute little banter back and forth about like, Gold Coin says he misses it. Fenris rasped. Adian says like, I say he hits it. And he says, make it 2. And it's like this whole back and forth. Anyways, if even Aelin says, make it 5. 10 says he downs it in the first shot. Deal, Fenris groaned. And then Rowan, of course, makes this epic shot, just turns around and says, pay up, pricks. It's just like intense battle, all this information. And then this part just made me laugh a lot.
I love that Fenris is the one who started it too, and he's like half dead on the ground.
He's like half dead, I know. And she's literally like, save your breath, like shut up the whole time.
Yeah, she's like, you all can go to hell, but I'll pitch in too. I'll take that bet.
But this is from Adian's POV, this whole little moment. And he was talking about, Gavriel being there and his whole daddy issues and all the things. And he said that Aelin once called him Uncle Kitty Cat. And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever. I did not, I guess, think really that would be his uncle, or her uncle, I mean, for Aelin and whatever. But it is funny to me. And then this next one kind of confused me a little bit. So I think this is more a question for the group. But it said Morath knew what it was going up against, who it was going up against. Erewhon had built his commanders accordingly. Does it mean Vernon? Because he's from Terrasen and like that's a Leeds family or something? Or who are these commanders he built accordingly for the group?
I think it was referring to the Bloodhound and like other actual monsters that he's made, because that's really the only thing he's built. He hasn't built Vernon.
I mean, he put them in those place of power, like he built his command team and whatever.
But I feel like that's what, because they had just been attacked by the Bloodhound leading the Ilkin, and he knew that disguising themselves as one of them and infiltrating would be the best way to start. This is how I took it.
I guess if that's a commander.
I thought they were referencing to Aelin and like how she wields fire.
Maybe it was because it took like so much fire in order to take one down, kind of a thing.
Yeah, could have been that too.
Like she had to use like all her fire energy on one just to like kill it. Mm-hmm. But I guess I was just thinking because his commanders, that made me think higher up than just
that is usually what it means.
Soldiers. Yeah. Which is why I went to Vernon, because that would make sense that he's like in charge of something. Yeah. But
I don't know. I have an issue with Vernon where I can't not picture Uncle Vernon from Harry Potter. So viewing him as a commander is very difficult.
It's funny that that's how you view him, because I view him as like skinny and slimy. You know what I mean? Like tall and skinny and kind of like greased back, grossy hair.
Like Slugsworth.
Sure. Yeah. I'm with it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
From Willy Wonka.
See, that's how I
The
viewed,
guy who's like, whisper, whisper, give me the gobstopper. You know what I'm talking about?
gobstopper, the everlasting gobstopper. If you
Connor, watch a movie.
Sorry, I don't watch anything anymore.
It's from your childhood.
Chin up, Charlie.
Kyle.
That's how I pictured Duke Parrington, though, at the beginning. So, and he's still the Duke of Wesselton to me. So,
and still, every time anyone says Duke Parrington, I keep like hearing it in your Doofenshmirtz voice. Every time. That's immediately what my brain does. Which I think you said back in like episode 1.
That was like when he was introduced, I was like, that was the first thing. And ever since then, it's every character has some sort of Disney correlation for me. Like it's something in that zone.
Yeah, but can we talk about if that's true from episode 1, that Kyle picked up that Erewhon was like in some sort of disguise? Like Duke Parrington, like that he would say Duke Parrington, but like, you know, like Perry the platypus.
Oh,
Duke Parrington.
I guess if you want to think of it that way, yeah. I don't think I thought of
Duke Parrington.
Duke Parrington having Erewhon relations at all. I guess we didn't even know his name back then, but like, yeah, you know, I mean, he's literally inside him, so.
Flabby meat or whatever he said, and now he's some young hot guy.
Yeah,
who I just picture as like a blonde dude with like swooshed back big hair, almost kind of vibes, like CEO,
like the prince from
types.
It's not Disney. Never mind.
Oh, okay,
that's DreamWorks, Kyle.
It's DreamWorks. I was picturing the prince. Shrek with the fairy
yes, honestly, kind of like that. Yes, 100%.
But no, I didn't think anything of him until his eyes darkened at that meeting in the first book or whatever, and I was like, "This guy."
But he means darkened in like a way that the Vogue was inside of him, not darkened in like a hot, sexy way that happens sometimes when a guy looks at a girl. His eyes darken. Sure.
The Vogue do have sensuous mouths.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Every time we mention the Vogue, Kyle just like sticks his lips out. Every single, just like that. Every single time.
About Vogue?
Oh my gosh.
I forgot what I was doing the other day, and she was like, "What is there? Do you have a Vogue?" And I just turned around and was like, "No."
Now I feel like we need like a cover of like Vogue magazine, but it's Vogue and it's
magazine. Yes.
Something about pouty lips.
Oh man,
that's funny.
This is while we're on the subject of sexy Vogue.
Let's talk about
earlier in the episode. I have a touch of ADD, so we mentioned something about Erewhon, and for some reason I was like, a funny Valentine's card would be, "I Erewhon you," and it would just be.
Sure.
I don't know.
Okay, this is so weird because I had the exact same thought like this morning. I'm not joking.
All right. Same joke?
Yes, literally. Because I was like, could we make it into the song like "I Want You to Want Me," but it's Erewhon?
Oh.
The very end of Adian's POV is him sitting and like keeping watch or whatever on the boat, and it just said, she, being Lysandra, laid her enormous head on his thigh. In silence they watched the stars flicker over the calm waves. Lysandra nuzzled her head against his hip. The starlight stained her coat with muted silver, and a smile ghosted Adian's lips. And I just like, we're getting so much romance in this section, which I am totally living for. But like, they're just like little tiny moments and stuff, and him just being there for her, and her like slowly letting him kind of in. And I get that she's like in like ghost leopard form or whatever in this moment, but like the fact that she is the one who like initiated any sort of physical touch, because she's been super anti anyone touching her, especially a guy. It's just super cute for them, and I love this for them and their slow burn, and I'm getting all the romance books tropes, and I'm living in this chapter chunk forever. A fan.
Speaking of romance in this chapter, Chuck.
Continue.
Episode 48.
Episode 48.
Episode 48. Chapter 48. Dorian knew he was towing a dangerous line. The other night, he'd been ready to slowly strip Manon naked to put those chains to good use. And when he'd found her gold eyes devouring him as intently as he'd wanted to devour other parts of her, and I just wrote Dorian in all caps with the sweating emoji.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Then Manon looks at him and she says, the magic, what is it? And he says, I don't know. It felt like an extension of me, like real hands I could command. And I said, the real daddy phantom hands of the series. We got like a little bit of it from Rowan with like his wind or whatever, but this is like next level. Sarah's getting a little creative with the phantom hands, and I am here for it.
I'm ready for her to be a lot of bit creative.
Low and creative.
Mhm.
Lower.
Lower. We kind of got that moment with the lower earlier with a lead while she was watching like sweat drip down his drip, and it was just like watched it go lower.
Watch the beat of sweat change his muscles.
Lower.
Try to guess where it's gonna land.
That called Plinko.
Yeah.
Ding 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 ding.
Manon and Dorian continue this conversation, and she was like, you liked killing the bloodhound or whatever, and he was like, yeah, he did. And she said, would you could have made her
Yeah, he
suffer. Okay. You could have made her suffer. You went for a clean blow instead. Why? And he said, because even our enemies, there's a line. And she said, then you have your answer. And he said, I didn't ask a question. She said, you've had that look in your eyes all night. If you're becoming a monster like the rest of us, the next time you kill, remind yourself of that line. And I just love that first of all, for her to say that. I just feel like it's huge growth for her because she's been not that character for forever. She was even a little more harsh and stuff with like a lead, even the last time that we, had her with other people outside of witches. And then for her to like say that to him is so helpful for him and like all the struggles that he's going through. I don't know. It's just a good moment for them.
I did have to not necessarily read that twice, but I didn't completely get what they're saying till she said, remind yourself of that line. Because when he was like, because even with our enemies, there's a line. I thought he was referring to like, there's more. Like you just gotta
line them up.
There's a line, keep them moving until she said, oh, it's like a line. Gotcha.
Line in the sand kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But she continues the conversation and Manon says, do not mistake me for a human woman, princeling. And he says, I have no interest in human women. He purred, too breakable. And even as he says it, the word struck some deep, aching wound on him. So of course it's like, oof, but then, oh, poor Sorsha. So it's just like a mixed emotion moment here.
And a sad day for human women everywhere.
Facts. Absolute facts.
Collective sigh around the world.
I feel like it's showing maybe more of his motivation towards his reasonings to try to be with Manon. Maybe he wasn't ready emotionally for like being with her, just like Manon was showing like in her eyes in that moment, because he's obviously going through something as well, and maybe just going after her because she's not a human woman and that she would be too breakable or something. And so maybe his emotions are also not there. And so I'm excited to see their growth together, literally.
She literally told him she could explode at any second. Pretty breakable.
That is true.
My next note was really just me being kind of confused and wanting some clarity on this part. So this is Manon. I think they're asking her for like her whole story because she says she's not a Blackbeak. And Aelin's like, okay, let's hear it. And Manon says, when my grandmother stripped me of my title as heir and wing leader, she also stripped my heritage. She told me that my father was a Kraken prince and she had killed my mother and him for conspiring to end the feud between our peoples and break the curse on our lands. And then it says, Dorian glanced to Aedion. The wolf of the North's face was taut, his ash river eyes shining bright, turning at the possibilities of all that Manon implied. And then it like just goes on, but I don't know, why did he specifically look at Aedion here? Was there like a reason for that?
It's a great question. First of all, good job.
Cute.
Maybe because he like maybe has had a run-in with witches before or something in the Bane. So it might just be that maybe Dorian thinks he has some more information about what she's talking about.
Yeah, or is more studied at least.
Well, and Adian has said that he makes it a habit to keep track of
the big
power
players
of the world or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
And like he had said it a long time ago when Baba Yellowlegs died, but then he said it again. Somebody like remembered that he said that in this chapter chunk. So maybe it was like,
yeah, maybe he was just kind of looking to him for, maybe not for confirmation, but it does seem like he can kind of see the wheels turning in Adian's head with that new information if he knows more about it. Okay, that makes more sense. Then in Dorian's POV, it says 2 queens. There were 2 queens among them, Dorian realized. And I said, go off, queens.
Yeah, go off, queens. We haven't said that in forever.
I know.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Not many queens have gone off lately.
Oh, but what if Manon actually does? Oh, no.
You gotta clarify what that means with her.
Mm-hmm.
Go off, queen.
But not like that. Not like that. Calm down.
Get off, queen, I think is what.
Whoa.
Wow, Connor. Your face got so red. Like immediately.
You're welcome.
I'd still read it.
The next note that I had was kind of after Aelin is just tossed in the throes of her own self-pity for a little bit. Manon is like, snap out of it. This is war. There's more, she says, but that's sort of the crux of it. And I feel like Manon is the first in a while to call Aelin out on her BS. And of course, gets totally ignored due to ego, because the next thing Aelin does is just be like, oh, I would never do. If you were me, you're not me. And like flips her off basically. And I'm like, I'm glad Manon is there to be the one who's calling this crap. And I hope Aelin starts listening to this sort of thing, because it's what she needs to hear.
I did have a note here. Like I highlighted this specifically to say, I feel like Kyle's going to be happy that Manon called Aelin out, because Kyle wants to call Aelin out, and somebody finally got to do that. Yeah. But since these tandem episodes have been coming out, there does seem to be a divide of people who are annoyed at Kyle for coming after their queen, Aelin. And then the people who are like, yes, Kyle, finally someone's saying it. She's the worst. She's annoying. So
glad people have been on my side.
Yes.
I felt so bad until now. Now that I know people have my back.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Vindication.
Speaking of ego.
Vindication.
Speaking of ego. Oh, it's funny.
But yes, I'm glad that Manon did it. And like, she's one of my favorite people right now. So the fact that it was her was also like, yes, Manon. Do it.
I have seen I feel like a lot of posts and stuff recently about people saying like, you either absolutely love Aelin or you like hate her and you can't stand her at all. I don't necessarily feel like I'm so strongly either way. Yeah.
I feel like I was pretty neutral until recently, because I was like, she had been dealing with things thrown at her up until like recently in the books. But now we're kind of to the point where she's making big decisions with what feels like very little reason behind them. I won't say there's little reason because I don't know her mind. She doesn't have a mind because she's a fictional person.
Oh. But I was like, calm down.
Like, wow.
All right.
But I just feel like that's kind of why I've maybe switched over to more of that side of being like, she's no longer necessarily dealing with an onslaught of things that she's overcoming from her past, so much as she is trying to lead right now, and the way that she's doing it is not something that I agree with.
I can get behind that.
Sure.
Vindication.
Anyways, this is also when Fenris says nameless is the price of Maeve's allegiance, and then like Aelin like flips out, I don't know, and just like nameless is the price, and then like goes off and throwing up in a bucket. But it's like I don't remember what Baba Yellowlegs said, and I did not look it up, and I should have. But like whatever she says in book 2, Crown of Midnight, right? And whatever little, I don't know, oracle message that I remember saying in the episode, I was really disappointed by that. I felt like it didn't mean anything, and that I was hoping we'd get some sort of snippet for the future. And now maybe it did 20 books later, and I just didn't know that.
I think that's literally all she said.
Is nameless is the price?
Yeah, I found it. Hold on. Well, Selena at the time, whatever, is asking her for information. And she says, this information is not for the idle games of mortals. Gold gleamed in Selena's palm. Name your price. The woman studied her from head to toe, sniffing once. Nameless is my price, Yellowlegs said, but gold will do for now. And then she like pays her and then she like tells her some stuff.
I feel like
Yeah, and then she kills her.
Yeah.
the fact that she's like, I mean, in the book, she throws up, and we think, and I know it's your next note, like, oh, she's preggo or whatever. But like later on, we learn like she's not, and she knew it. But she's that nervous about it. The only thing that I could think of is maybe something to do with the old king who was nameless and still is unexplained for that. Maybe
What old king?
the dead one, the one with no name.
Oh,
Rifthold.
King of
Which
Otterland?
dead king?
Because there's Brannon.
Oh yeah, they're all dead. I
There's
forgot.
Gavin.
There's Gavin.
Well, okay,
There's
the other one
Netherins.
is Brannon, because I was thinking like, oh, maybe nameless is the price, and like taking his name was some sort of price for the power that he had through Erewhon or something. But
You
then the
did
other
say
one
that.
was, I did. I don't know if it's true though. But the other one for this one, because like I don't feel like she'd throw up nervous about that. Earlier in the series, and I can't remember what book, someone said that like the mark that appeared on her head. Did we get more definition for that?
It did mean like nameless
Was it-
or something.
Yeah, it was like it was
Mm.
Brandon's, I think, or Gavin's or something.
No, it was
like
Brandon's.
an old king's. Okay, his mark that meant because he was a
Unknown
bastard?
or nameless
or unknown or
yeah.
something. No, bastard was something else.
He was a bastard.
He was just a bastard. So I don't know. Maybe she's thinking like because she has the mark, like she's the price for it, and there's gonna have to be some big self-sacrificial play, and she doesn't want to die, and that's why she's nervous throwing up, or thinking that she has to. I don't know.
But when Nehemia died, you said we'll see Nehemia as a ghost. So who's to say King of Otterland doesn't come back as a ghost or something?
Yeah,
And
and
then
give us
he's-
nothing like all other ghosts.
But maybe he has nothing because he has no name, and that's the price or something.
True. Maybe he'll come back and tell us his name.
It's John. Something so basic. Sorry, John.
It has. She used to kill the basic names. We haven't really met any basic names.
It has to be basic because he died. So
Yeah.
It's Greg.
Yeah.
it's Kevin.
Oh, Greg.
No, that's the Vol King, Kevin Joe.
Oh yeah, Kevin, Joe, and Nick. Good point.
So he's Frankie.
Frankie Muniz?
Oh, Frankie Jonas. Oh, that's funny.
I'd be interested to see if we ever learn what his name is or was or whatever, but I don't know if it's
Yeah, at this point, it's like,
a big deal. Who cares? He's already dead.
I don't know. Maybe that's the answer, though. I don't know. All I do know is that Con and John were very quiet during that whole conversation. So, coincidence?
The one just now?
I think not.
I don't actually know. Anyways, Aelin does have a horrible reaction to this random forward sentence, nameless is the price, and does start puking her guts up. And as soon as the word puking was used, I was like, if there is a freaking pregnancy trope in this book, I quit. Because I was really annoyed when it happened in another Sarah book, and I'm just not a fan of that trope in general. And we've already I was talking about how I'm getting all the romance tropes, and I'm living for it, that this would not be one of those, and I would be very annoyed. Just putting it out there.
PTSD from past pregnancies.
Pregnancy tropes, maybe not mine.
Fictional
but-
pregnancies.
Yeah. Let's be clear on that.
The other one wasn't like a classic trope, though, because it wasn't like the main character, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get it. I would have been mad too.
It was
I've never
one
read anything with a pregnancy trope, so I don't know.
We're not here to talk about that book. I was about to argue my feelings about it. We can talk about it off screen or in the Discord chat about this episode.
Yep.
So join us on Patreon and we'll talk about that book series. But
We will talk all about
Do
it.
a whole bonus episode just about pregnancy tropes.
We probably could.
No. Moving on.
Really, just my last note from this chapter was this whole, like, it was just rude of Sarah to switch POVs on this cliffhanger of just saying Eelway Eelway was burning, and then it switches back to Alita and Lorcan. Really?
I would also like to quickly say, kind of called it again. I said they'd be too late. And the reason I did was because, like I said, I related so much Disney stuff to these books. I was like, that's such a Mulan thing to do.
Oh, and with the last, only one needs to survive this moment. That's super
later. I'll
Mulan,
talk
too.
about that too. But I just thought of it here because of that note I have later. I was like, it's classic Disney. They come up upon a city and they're like, oh, whatever, a girl worth fighting. And then dead city with a teddy bear in it.
How it goes. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome. Anytime you need the last second of a Disney song, I've got you.
I appreciate that. It's a weird skill that you have.
Not to
Some
brag,
people
but-
recognize songs by the beginning. I recognize them by the result. I'm like, oh.
A Disney downbeat gets Kyle every time.
It all started with that evil green Disney magic watch.
It did.
Then we get to switch the POV to chapter 49, back with Elide and Lorcan. And Elide's cycle has come. And speaking of her time of the month, it's been my time of the month? Getting a carefully catered book selection from Book of the Month. I really like that there are enough choices that I'll be interested in at least one of the books, but not so many that I feel overwhelmed by the decision. There's always one that sticks out to me, maybe more. But I also know that I have the option to go back and choose books from past months, so there's no FOMO, which is the fear of missing out.
The Book of the Month app and website, they're really easy to use. I can seamlessly navigate between what's featured for the month, everything available, and my favorites or my TBR. It does help make my next pick really easy and not overwhelming.
I really loved that I could not just pick this month, but I could also look at the past months, because there's been times that I wanted to do Book of the Month and I've just delayed it. And instead I can go back and get those ones that I did miss out on. It comes in this cute little blue box with a new bookmark every single time. It was a really fun way to explore new titles and a lot of new genres and get new recommendations outside of my normal recommendation avenues.
Yes, I love that Book of the Month offers a variety of genres every month, which makes it really easy to branch out into something new. If you're like me and you want to try out different genres every once in a while, choosing from Book of the Month's curated selections can take the stress out of picking a book from your overwhelming TBR. Their handpick options help you explore different genres with confidence and without the exhaustion of endless browsing.
So check out the Book of the Month today and use code PUMPKIN to get your first book for only $5. Tell them Between Pages and Friends sent you in the entry survey. We would appreciate that so much. And with that, let's get back to Empire of Storms, chapter 49.
Yeah, so back in chapter 49, Elide's off taking care of her womanly issues, and Lorcan goes off to hunt and gather food for boats. And he's getting, crates of, apples and dried meats and whatever it is. And the merchant throws in a few pears and says, "For the lovely lady." And I immediately highlighted that. And I was like, Elide is not with him. So something is going wrong. Something is up. Immediately called that there was an issue here before Lorcan even did. He was halfway to the boat before he even picked up that the guy said that. So
yeah, Lorcan was like, "Oh, she is lovely, isn't she?"
Wait a second.
She is real pretty. She will like this pear. Dumpty 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 dumpty.
Oh.
I'm starting to picture now, Lorcan is now starting to become from Tangled, the two other thieves
Yes.
trying to catch Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he's morphing into in my brain now.
He's got their intelligence combined.
Oh my gosh. But then at the very end of this chapter, once again, Sarah's leaving us on a cliffhanger where it just says Vernon sitting on the other side of the table, smiling at her like a cat. And my note was just, how in the hell, where did we even get an explanation for how he knows that she's gonna be there? I'm still so confused about this.
I totally agree, because it would be one thing to know she's on the river and she's traveling down or whatever, but how would you know she's going to stop exactly at this town that you've already got the entire town on your side to like help trap her or whatever, that the guy down the street selling pears would know and the people inside would know to like trick her into the back?
Because he has his army like dotting the coast or whatever they said. Like maybe they've just had spies around that are able to watch from the skies. They can fly around. So,
But that he got there so quickly is just.
but they carried him away. Like,
That's true.
They could carry him there too. Or maybe that's just where he was.
What was it, Kyle?
Stationed. Wee!
Sure, that's what he said.
Yeah. Before Elite almost killed him. I'm getting out of here.
You can assemble.
You gotta take the simple pleasures in life.
Oh my gosh. But again, it's one of those epic last sentences of a chapter with just what an adventure you've had, a lead. And I was like, ugh, you're the worst.
What was the thing all the villains were saying that I pointed out? I think it was in Queen of Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
No, I don't even remember. They
about.
said it like 5 times in one book, and I was expecting him to say it here, and now I can't even remember what it was.
I've been expecting you, Mr. Bond.
Something like that.
Yeah, Mr. Bond. They said that that quote exactly. That was it.
Going somewhere, that's what it was.
That was it.
Which he probably could have said here, but I feel like Sarah was like, I've said that too many times. I'm going to pick something else.
It'd be a weird thing to say going into a room, too.
Instead of saying going somewhere, he's said, you've been somewhere.
Very true.
I'll use that as a parent as our kids get older, if they ever come home. Like, what an adventure you've had, Emma. Why don't you take a seat?
That terrifies me. But it takes us into chapter 50, where he tells her Manon Blackbeak is dead. And this is the sentence I was saying earlier that gives me hope that maybe the rest of the 13 are okay, since he's like saying this and we know that it's a lie. So maybe they're also lying about the rest of the 13. However, I could see how the report back from grandmother or whatever really hurting Manon or whatever and knocking her off, and then also the bloodhound having her attack on Manon and then reporting back, like there's no way she could have survived that, kind of a thing. So like they don't know that she survived. Like I could see them honestly believing Manon is dead and not just lying, but I'm hoping that they're lying and that the rest of the 13 are okay. That's what I'm trying to say here. Lots of words. But from a lead's POV, it just said that, but a voice that was young and old, wise and sweet, whispered, do not touch it, do not use it, do not acknowledge it. And she's talking about the word stone that was starting to like get power because she was freaking out in this moment with Vernon. But I really hope we get some sort of explanation onto like what this voice is, because my initial thought was like Anieth, but then later to like Lorcan, she's telling him like after the fact that she almost pulled it out, and she like literally unwraps it and shows it to him like that moment. And she says, a voice told me not to think about it. So I'm like, who is my? Because she wouldn't say my Anieth or my God, or I don't know, maybe she would, but like, I'm saying, but I'm like, maybe it is her mom. Like that was something that came through like past my head or whatever, but would her mom be talking in her brain? But also Irene's mom kind of does that, or Irene also has some weird voice happening for her over there. So I just want the answers.
Mom was a witch, so who knows?
Yeah. That's true. A lead takes the dagger and is literally going to kill herself, which is like crazy, but like makes sense, but like really crazy at the same time, just with all that she's gone through. And when it switches to Lorcan's POV, it says, for the first time in 5 centuries, Lorcan knew true fear as the lead turned the knife on herself, the blade angled to plunge up and into her heart. And I highlighted that and just wrote, he is so in love. He's lived all this life. He's taken down literal cities and kingdoms and fought other insane fae people. He literally lives with Maeve for however long he has. But a lead almost killing herself is the first time in 5 centuries that he knew true fear. Okay. If he says
He's
anything other than love, yeah, he is lying to himself.
Yeah, and of course he blocks it from happening. He like throws his hatchet, blocks it, and he's like up on the rooftops. He's like got weapons stashed there. I think he throws some daggers at one, and then it says, but Lorcan was already sprinting to the third rooftop, flanking the courtyard, to the sword he'd left there. He hurled it right through the face of the closest one. And the first gif that popped in my head, and I have it on our notes, is from Old School when Will Ferrell's character darts himself, and the zoo guy's like, yes, that's awesome. Because that's it, exactly how I felt in this moment. It was just so awesome. I love that.
Well, and you're like the fighting and the battle and everything. And for me, it was the part where the alley was too
calls
small
her
for
a-
the Ilkin to fit, especially with the debris and trash littered throughout. Good girl. He said it. Okay.
I'm dying because he doesn't even say this to her, but I had the exact same reaction listening to it in my car.
As Lauren manhandles her microphone.
I know.
Freak it out.
I literally did the exact same thing when I listened to this part.
I'm usually reading when I'm like almost asleep in bed. It's like super late at night. And so, but I was like, and sat up.
She's got like 2 stress balls on that desk, but chooses to strangle the mic.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. It's fine.
Did you hear what he said?
Guys, for real though. He said good girl. I don't think you understand. I got my stress ball. It's fine.
And then we go back to some action.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Not yet.
Lorcan watched as that woman crept up behind the distracted Ilkin and drove the hatchet into its wings. I like paraphrase some parts here, but injured wrist. She had an injured wrist and a broken nose. The Ilkin screamed, thrashing to grab her. On its knees, the axe was swinging again before its scream finished sounding. The sound was cut off a heartbeat later as its head bounced to the stones. And I was just like, hell yeah, a lead. Like taking it to these dudes after Lorcan saved her, and that whole time she thought he had like abandoned her. So like as soon as she knew he was there, she just had the courage to fight, and that whole moment was just super sweet.
We had talked too about like, why didn't Manon teach her anything? Like the girl doesn't know what she's doing, and then she just comes out, and it's like the next one she's fighting is like trying to reach out for her, and just she sidesteps it like no big deal, and it's just like she's just epic all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Girl, go off.
Which is crazy. And then like she's giving this whole message to one of the Ilkin to relay to Erewhon. And it says from Lorcan's POV, as he's watching this happen, it's in a voice he'd never heard her use. And she says, I want Erewhon to know that the next time he sends you after me like a pack of dogs, I'll return the favor. I want Erewhon to know that the next time I see him, I will carve Manon's name on his goddamned heart. First of all, go the F off, queen. Second of all, I thought it was interesting that Lorcan notes this isn't a voice he'd never heard her use. I know this is like kind of language that Sarah J. Maas uses sometimes, but we've been talking about like looking forward to getting to a place where a lead is doing things that are like her own mannerisms rather than just copying other people. And since she's in such like a blind rage here, I'm wondering if this is like a voice he's never heard her use because she's like actually like this is coming straight from her. This is not like her mimicking other people. This is just like her own pure rage. And so I just kind of like the wording here. I don't know if it was intended to be that way, but that's how I took it.
I thought it was that she was like trying to be Manon in that moment. Like that she was using a voice he hadn't heard because she was trying to imitate someone she wasn't or something. And she was trying to be like tougher or something else. That's how I took it. But I like that she's being her own person better. So we'll go with yours.
I was going to say, like, I wonder, like, I took it as her being herself too. And I kind of wonder if it might be the first time in a while she's even heard herself talk that way. Cause she's been used to playing this very, like, don't look at me. I'm cutesy and demure sort of person. And I'm just under the radar sort of thing.
Very true.
The first time that she's actually just like instinctually spoken from the heart. And then going into like the next thing she says, one of the messengers, or not the messengers, the Ilkin takes Vernon away. And so she's talking to this other Ilkin saying, but it seems like tonight isn't really your night because it only takes one to deliver a message and your companions are already on the way. and then kills that one. And that, like Lauren said, reminded me, I put the picture in there of Mulan where he's like, tell your emperor to send his strongest armies. How many men does it take to deliver a message? And they say one, and they kill one of the messengers. And with this and earlier coming upon the city that was burned, I was like, did Sarah just watch Mulan before writing this chapter section? Because very strong vibes. I just also wrote, I'll do you one better. Like, ever since you said the story was supposed to be a dark Cinderella thing, the evil green Disney magic, and I feel like I've related so many Disney movies to these characters. I think Sarah's just a Disney adult with like a dark, smutty twist. Not a bad thing. But I think that's what I'm looking at right now.
Or you're a Disney adult with a dark, smutty twist.
Look,
That's
one to know one. Maybe that's why I'm like, I know where she's going with this.
I've seen all these movies before.
I'm with you. Yeah, Mulan. I get it.
All right. Lorcan reached out, grasping Elid's chin and forcing her to look at him. Hopeless, bleak eyes met his. He brushed a stray tear with his thumb. I made a promise to protect you. I will not break it, Elid. She made to pull away, but he gripped her a little harder, keeping her eyes on him. I will always find you. I promise. Okay, Lorcan with the chin grasp.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Well, and it was later, I think it's even the next morning, and Elid comes out and she says Elid stood on her toes, kissed his stubbled, rough cheek, and said, I will always find you too, Lorcan. I'm here for it. I'm here for them.
Also very cute. When she awoke, clean strips of linen for her cycle were next to the bed. Lorcan's own shirt, washed and dried overnight, now cut up for her to use as she would. And I said, this is so cute, Lorcan. And also, Kale, are you taking notes?
Because he ran away.
Because Kale ran away at the first mention of a period, but Lorcan's like, here, let me just rip my shirt off. You can have it.
I mean, you could give Kale some credit. He's not going to run away from it anytime soon.
That's very true.
Poor Kale. He's not even in this episode, guys. Stop hating on him.
We made it so far without talking about Tower of Dawn.
I did write in my notes somewhere about them leaving that. I was like, did she ever get her stuff for her cycle or whatever? So I appreciate that. We got an answer that Lorcan helped her out. But also Lorcan's running out of shirts because he sold one to that to that lady. And now he's ripped one up. So at some point, unfortunately, he's just going to be shirtless. So
darn. What a shame that will be.
Then he's going to have to start tearing up his pants. And then who knows what else is going to happen. He's going to show up naked and people are going to be like, what happened? It's like, no, she got her period. So I don't know. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? That wasn't in the Disney movie.
Oh my gosh.
All right, last chapter, Empire of Storms, chapter 51. My first note was just that we get confirmation that Aylin's not pregnant, but my note was that Kyle called the pregnancy scare, though, for sure.
You did say there would be a pregnancy scare.
Oh, yeah. I remember calling him out for not using contraception, but I don't. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, but her not telling him that she was basically trying for a baby the entire time is a huge ick. Major bad points on Aylin's side in my book. Rowan deserves way better than how he even found out that information.
Yes.
Even the conversation that they had or whatever, and how he just was kind of quiet and didn't say anything. And she just was like, yeah, that's how it is. And moved on with life. And just they didn't even have a discussion even after the fact. If you're going to make that decision and accept that that was a mistake, that, we should have talked about that, any sort of, I don't know, resolution for him, but instead it was just nope, this is how it's going to be. And you can either accept it or not. And whatever. I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. I got a big ick from that as well. But also, why is this the first time he's asking if she's taking a contraceptive?
That's a great point. That is
They've been
really
doing it
point.
for weeks.
I
don't actually know how long it's been at this point. But I'm ugh, I hate the way this conversation went. But I'm kind of surprised that this is the first time he's even asked. And then he's just kind of okay. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she was saying that she's doing that because like Faye, it takes so long to like have a baby or whatever.
Mhm.
Is that for the
Mhm.
ladies or is that for the men? Because like obviously Gavriel only spent like a couple days or whatever with or however long with Adian's mom and she got pregnant. So is it like if she's human, she could get pregnant just as easy as normal? Or is if she's saying if she's long lived, that's what will make it hard? And since she doesn't know, she's just gonna go for it all the time or
I guess I was assuming that I guess that doesn't make sense. I don't know. I think I was just taking the principles of the Fae from a different series and applying it here without actually knowing for sure.
All she said was that the Fae just have trouble
Conceiving.
like
Yeah.
conceiving in general.
Yeah.
She didn't say whether it was gender specific or whatever. So
Yeah. In one of her other series, she says that like it's difficult because Fae females only have a period like twice a year or something.
yeah.
So I don't know.
But Aylin's had a cycle at one point. Has she had
Yeah.
one since Crown
Right,
of
like,
Midnight?
yeah, like, I don't know if she still. I feel like that would be a pretty good indicator of whether or not you're Fae, unless you just have a normal cycle until the settling.
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like you can't say having a normal cycle is a good indicator of anything because that's a struggle all the time. Like, what are we talking about?
Very true. Very true.
Connor, are you a Fae? You just didn't tell me?
I might be.
Anyway, moving on. We get this really cute moment with Manon and poor little Abraxos because he doesn't get to go, and it makes me so sad.
My sweet baby boy.
Where's he gonna go? Like, what's he gonna do? I don't even know. But like Manon says, like, you and me, she promised him from now until the darkness claims us. It's just so cute with them. But then for her to also say that she decided she had never hated anyone more than she hated the Queen of Terrasen and her friends for making him leave, for causing this parting when so many dangers had not been able to cleave them, which is just so precious. I mean, technically, Manon still made that choice. You know, like
Yeah.
She could have
she ultimately she decided she was going with them and therefore Abraxos and left and all the things. But I do understand the sentiment in the moment. But this is where it was that, but now with that flower smelling wyvern vanishing over the horizon, ... She just has a sad, far off look. And now I'm sad. And maybe Abraxos will have this epic, like, he's watching them the whole time and swoops in just when they need the extra help or something kind of moment. And he'll be like
he
the
would
hero.
do that because he's the best boy and he's a very good listener, even though he's really sad about leaving.
Yeah, that.
My very last note for this chapter, I said I was going to channel a bit of John here in his "this might be a problem for me" way. When at the very end, Manon's cutting up her cloak and tying just a piece of it as a ribbon in her long braid. And I was like, long braids? Count me in, Manon. Start contrasting colors like white and red. Call me the capital of Ireland because I'm double in. I wrote that at like 1:30 in the morning and I forgot about it until Lauren mentioned it earlier. We'll keep it in there. It's a solid pun. I stand by it.
That's great.
I didn't know that was a thing for you, like the long braids.
Oh, I thought you meant puns. You should know that by now.
I don't like the way you said that. Like,
Puns?
it means something more. You should know that by now. Like, what?
Every other thing I say is a pun. No, yeah, I like braided hair. I like, I guess, hairstyles.
Harry
but
Styles.
braids- Harry Styles. That's something else you should know about me.
Wide leg trousers
Braids
really do it for me.
Yep. That's it.
All right. Well, my hair looks the same every day, so I'm sorry. I'll try to mix it up. Get some wide leg trousers, apparently.
No pressure.
All right, moving on into our thoughts and theories. Kyle, you're up.
Thoughts? It was alright. Got some Lorcan and Manorian progression, so that's nice. Got some basic lore and such, which was also nice. Still not a fan of Aelin, and kind of less of a fan of Rowan the more that I'm in either of their heads. I just feel like they both had some downsides in this section. Kind of like how you guys went over with the whole not telling him thing, and then him not asking.
I feel like you can talk about Aelin, but like don't come after Rowan. That's where I'm at.
How
But
dare
I didn't say
you.
I'm not a fan of him.
Sure.
Just like he went down like a notch or two for me. I was like, oh, okay. Like, anyway. As for theories, I think the whole nameless is my price thing we kind of already talked about is going to have to do with Aelin knowing what the price is, thus the panicked evacuation of her guts on the ship. She like knows something she's not sharing. Typical.
True.
Probably knows some major sacrifice, like I said. She'll withhold that information until it's almost too late and then continue to complain about others doing the same to her. Sorry. I think Elite and Lorcan are going to meet up with them pretty soon. I feel like they're close, physically speaking anyway. Like on the map, I feel like got to be closing in. I also have a gut feeling about the lock will end up being something that is either seemingly not helpful, like they'll find it and be like, what the crap is this? Until last minute, and they'll be like, oh, that's how it works. Or it's going to be something they've already had, kind of like how the Amulet of Orient was a word key forever, and we didn't learn that for like 4 or 5 books. So like maybe it's one of the legendary swords or the Eye of Elena or Dorian's socks or something that like has been with them the whole time, but they've not really thought about it. That's the only theory I have, really.
That's funny. For me, this chapter chunk has finally given me all the things I've been wanting out of the series the whole entire time. I've been waiting for the romance part of the romantasy to show up, and this was it. Every turn there was this couple and then that couple and this couple, and it's like the season finale of Love Island, and everyone's just happy, and it's everything I wanted. So super excited about that. I love it. I hope it never changes. I really don't have any idea what the nameless is my price thing is. I feel like that's the only thing really to theorize about from these chapters. If I had to guess, Aelin is not the key since she has 1,000 names. I did like the theory Kyle and I kind of talked about with maybe it being the King of Otterlin or something somehow, but I don't actually know how that would make sense. And then I think I maybe became somewhat of a Dorian girly in this chapter.
Yes, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm
Not Lorcan?
Like I said, he's great. Don't get me wrong. You heard me fangirl over him, but he's great for a lead. He's not great for me.
I'm just saying, like, Dorian made you twirl your hair, but Lorcan made you strangle a mic. So
well, just wait until Dorian says "good girl," and then I'll throw my computer. Okay.
Fair enough.
That brings us to the cry counter. Did anyone cry this episode?
Nope.
No, me either. So we'll wait for the next one.
Yes, that is a wrap on episode 21. Join us next week as we continue with both books, Empire of Storms, chapters 52 to 59, and damn, Daniel back at it again with the Tower of Dawn, chapters 36 to 48. Check out the episode schedule pinned on Instagram if you'd like to follow along.
And a quick reminder that we do have bookmarks on our website for the Tandem Reading Guide, along with tons of other merch inspired by our podcast and ACOTAR reaction videos. Our website is betweenpagesandfriends.com. That's betweenpagesandfriends.com. And of course, it will be linked in the show notes or description box below. While you're there, sign up for our monthly newsletter and check out our Patreon for community and a pick-a-peck of pickled perks. Until next time, stay wordy, stay nerdy, don't stress, and stay blessed.
Bye-bye.
Amazing script, Kyle.
I'm going to be banned from writing the script again.
No, please do it every
That was
week.
pretty good.
Wonderful.
Bye, friends.
Good times.